My name is Greg Marshall, and I'm 30.
And kind of what are you doing right now to leave an impact on the world?
Well, right now it's a variety of things that have grown out of what I've been doing since I was about 19. And right now it's manifested in creating music and media that is used in classroom environments and therapy environments to connect kids with their most important relationships, like with their teachers, with their parents, and with each other. And we use that music in a variety of ways, concerts in schools, concerts in community, but then we also work with schools where we'll connect with a group of students and create a collaborative project where the students will create a school song or some kind of a song that addresses issues that are important to them. So we take them through the music production process with computers and then through the lyric writing process, and then they collaborate on the recording of it. We produce a CD, and then the kids perform that for their school. So we do projects like that. We also have an institute called Fire in the Soul Institute where kids actually come to us. We have 12 Mac laptops and 12 beat machines called The Machine, made by Native Instruments. And we have kids come in, and we teach music production and lyric writing as a way to teach collaboration, essentially, especially using technology. So those are some of the things that we're doing. Over the last few years, we've I guess it was 4 years ago now, we started a nonprofit called Figureheads, Inc., and that nonprofit was designed to use music and mentorship simply to serve the next generation. And we've been creating children's and youth media in a variety of ways for a while now. But out of that, it's come opportunities to actually, personally, I've been able to kind of function as a creative consultant to different companies and organizations who are creating products that promote flourishing in families or in communities. And so I've been able to assist in different, whether it be creating commercials or writing scripts or a variety of different things, but essentially just being really creative in a variety of ways to promote flourishing of people is what I've been doing, and it manifests in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, for sure. And how did you get involved with this, combining music with kind of youth empowerment and to build better communities? What led you to that combination?
Well, I fell in love with hip-hop music when I was in middle school, essentially, and started rapping in high school, started a hip-hop crew where we were performing at homecoming and that kind of stuff. And then when I went into college, I just kept doing music, but the other part of my life with education experienced somewhat of an awakening in college where I tested into, especially in English, I tested so low that I ended up in a course that wasn't even credited. And I remember sitting in my classroom looking around at everybody who was there with me, and most of them were people who were returning to school after being in full-time work for a long time, or single moms who were just working really hard just to get to where they were at. And I was in that room because I didn't utilize my potential. I didn't utilize the resources that were around me in high school. I was just I didn't really think of education as having anything to do with me. I kind of went to college for other reasons than education. And but I remember sitting in that classroom and realizing that, here I am. I've never gotten above a C really in English all the way through high school. And it started to click that I spend most of my time writing lyrics. I spend most of my time communicating with words. Why would this be my worst subject? And I remember getting a paper assignment and just actually for the first time trying to work hard at it and realizing that this is actually something I'm good at. And over time I started to do better and better and better, and I ended up graduating with a degree in English language and linguistics, which would have been absolutely ridiculous to me in high school because it was such a distant thing to me. But what happened was as I started pushing forward and trying to make healthier choices with my life, not smoking weed all the time, stop drinking a whole bunch, just started focusing on what my life is actually about, and started to wake up, and I started to meet other people who were making similar choices, and they started hey, read this book, or watch this video, and started being shaped and sort of almost mentored by my peers And then over time, I connected with this guy named Jeremy Bryan, and we started dreaming about how could music be used in education, because we love hip-hop, we've been performing, writing, but how could we use it in more intentional ways? And one thing led to another, and we didn't realize that this was going to happen, but we moved together to a city, and another producer from Minneapolis, we all moved to Madison, Wisconsin. And, sorry, I'm just distracted. Yes, we all moved to Madison, Wisconsin, and we started creating music, but we had to get jobs, and I ended up getting a job working with kids who have autism as an in-home therapist. And what I was doing was just using music to connect with kids in a variety of ways. So this one girl, Annie, was trying to get up in the morning. It was really hard. She was combative with her mom and all this stuff. But I created a song to help her order her routine in the morning, and situations like that started happening where a lot of fruit came out of those encounters. So then the psychologist I was working for actually offered me a job to just write music full-time for the kids in his clinic. And so that launched into us starting a publishing company, and then forming this group of our music. We had never thought about writing music for kids in our lives. It was just more so in the club scene and whatever, and how do we use that poetically in high schools or wherever. But all of a sudden we found ourselves writing hip-hop music for young kids, and we took that music to hundreds of schools through school assemblies, started doing workshops with kids, and that kind of birthed into this idea that we function more like a nonprofit than a typical band. So let's form ourselves as a nonprofit and see what we can do. And that's where when we moved from Madison eventually to Milwaukee, where we chose to move into central city neighborhoods to be a part of the communities where we would be serving with using our music. So it became kind of a full immersion of our lives and our work and our talents towards a goal of seeing if we could help activate the potential of youth who were struggling with things that we struggled with. So it kind of stumbled upon it, but it was just made so much sense as we were moving forward that we just kept doing it.
Yeah, it's great how you've combined these kind of two elements that people don't necessarily see working together, and use them to help young people's lives. So that's something that's great. What are some of the challenges that you see kind of facing young people and facing this new generation?
Well, there's so many, but the one that I've been thinking about most lately is just the power of culture. And by culture, I mean the norms that exist within communities, and sort of the role of large institutions, like whether it be Hollywood or media, big media, radio stations, movies, even news, and all the different sources of information that shape the way we think and the way we behave. And sometimes I just get really discouraged by, you go into a classroom and you're working with kids, and you can help paint this picture of what life could be like, and you can create this really, really great experience in the classroom and build this relationship. But the power of institutions to capture a kid's imagination is just overwhelming almost. I work closely with kids who love what we're talking about, and they love being a part of it, but the pull to think a certain way about themselves and about other people is so strong that a lot of times just the currents of culture kind of wins over. And so sometimes I'm just thinking, we focus a lot on political movements, which make a lot of sense, obviously, but sometimes I wish that we had more people helping youth to envision, how do you create art and music and advertising and marketing with a full picture of human nature into account, So how can we help push young people into some of these, and not push, but encourage those who want to be leaders in these larger companies and organizations? How do we assist them by giving them a clear picture of how to function in Hollywood and in entertainment business and in advertising and media in a way that promotes flourishing of people, over profit? Because it just seems to me that the desire of profit that comes out of the larger institutions is really just distorting reality for a lot of people, and it's really discouraging. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I'm looking at now that's a challenge, is that when you're a teacher, when you're a youth worker, you're trying to win the hearts of youth, But at the same time, you have these giant companies with millions and billions of dollars who are also trying to win their hearts for the sake of creating consumers. We're trying to win their hearts for the sake of creating critical thinkers and producers. And it's a hard battle because, yeah, we have the leverage of close relationship, but they have the leverage of large agencies that study their behaviors and study their thinking, and they target all their money and resources towards capturing their imagination the same way that we are. They just have more resources. So that's kind of the big problem. And that's my way of thinking out loud about it, essentially, but I hope that makes sense.
No, it definitely does. And the last question is, what advice do you have for a young person who wants to get more involved in their community or whatever? What would you tell them?
The biggest thing that's been the most fruitful for me is make sure that you make it a high priority to surround yourself with people who are older and wiser than you, and make sure it's people who are healthy, in the sense that you look at their relationships and they make sense. It's healthy, they're trying to make decisions that are going in the right direction. And that right there has been the most valuable thing that I've ever done, is simply surround myself with people who care about me and who are healthy, who are making good decisions and who will push me forward, and people who have more wisdom than me. And it's not just people who are like you, it's people, it may be an older person who you have nothing in common with, but you just see that their life makes sense and they care about you. It's just unbelievably important we connect ourselves with people who are older and wiser than us. If there's any piece of advice, I'm kind of like, I just know that if anybody were to actually listen to this, and I gave a whole list of things, I could give a list of like 15 things to do or think about, but in reality, if I were going to point to just one, it would be just simply surround yourself with people who care about you, who are older and wiser than you, and actually be willing to trust their insight even when it's hard to understand in the moment. Because that moment where I remember wanting to drop out of college just to pursue music because we were getting all these shows and big opportunities. I mean, performing in front of 5,000 people, signing autographs, and you're thinking, shoot, I should just drop out and just do this. But I had older and wiser people in my life who were saying, "Oh, finish school, build on this. You can do this more substantively if you make the right choices right now." And I submitted to their wisdom, and it's been really, really helpful. So that's where I'll leave it.